The next seat at the Court of Appeals is that which is designated as the Bryant seat, currently occupied by Judge Wanda Bryant. Her opponent is Judge Marty McGee, who is a district court judge in Cabarrus County. We've asked these two candidates to address the following issue. Our government is based on three branches: executive, judicial, and legislative. When legislative matters are before the court, do you have a personal philosophy as to what degree of deference, if any, should be given to laws enacted by the General Assembly? Judge Bryant.
Good afternoon. As you heard, my name is Wanda Bryant, and I'm a judge on the North Carolina Court of Appeals, and I do seek re-election on that court, and I do seek your vote this afternoon. Yours, your friends, your family, anyone that you might have influence over. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you, North Carolina Association of Defense Attorneys, for this opportunity to say a few words about myself, why it is that I think you ought to support me in my continued service on the Court of Appeals, and to respond to the question. I say a lot of times when I'm talking to people about myself and my service and that kind of thing that there are four basic qualities that I think you want to have on your appellate courts: experience, knowledge, public service, and common sense. At least I hope you want those things. And let me tell you how or why it is that I have those. You know, experience and knowledge kind of go hand in hand in a manner of speaking. But for the last 11 and a half, almost 12 years on the Court of Appeals, I have served as a judge. I'm number 4 in seniority now, so that comes about pretty quickly. But I've been a licensed lawyer for 30 years. In the time that I've been on the Court of Appeals over these last going on 12 years, I've written over 1,200 opinions. And I've reviewed probably double that many with other judges on panels in which they've written the opinions. I've written opinions that involve issues that affect the lives and liberties of people, I like to say from cradle to grave and beyond, because of the types of cases that we review, whether they're cases involving child custody of infants and other children, or whether there are state matters that involve deceased people who, years after their deaths, where matters are being still litigated. We handle workplace injuries, employment cases, complex business cases, you've heard that, lots of different types of property cases, including zoning, cases that mean a lot to a lot of people, criminal cases. So I'm very mindful that the opinions that we write, and the ones that I've written and hope to continue to write, influence the lives and liberties and properties of people in a way that's very personal to them. My experience outside the Court of Appeals has been more as a prosecutor at the state level and the federal level, where I prosecuted thousands of cases, 100-plus cases to jury trial in the courts of North Carolina and the U.S. courts in Washington, D.C. I served as a senior deputy attorney general in the Citizens' Rights Division, started that division, ran that division for 8 years, where we dealt with issues of child abuse, elder abuse, hate crimes, environmental crimes, all kinds of things that affected the lives and liberties of people, and also policy matters there. I'll move on to public service, because currently I serve on a number of boards and commissions. I serve as a member of the Board of Directors of the Smith-Shaver Scholarship Board, and it's been my pleasure to help to dispense more than $1 million over the last several years to law students in our 5 traditional law schools here in North Carolina. I serve as chair of the North Carolina Central University Board of Visitors, and I was pleased to welcome our new dean, Dean Phyllis Craig Taylor, the other day to lead our law school, hopefully to newer and better heights, and our Board of Visitors will be behind her all the way. I serve on the Friends Board of the North Carolina Museum of Sciences, and I had the pleasure of being a member of that board and helping to be a member when the Nature Resource Center, was just opened recently, and it's a a phenomenal thing to have in the state of North Carolina, one of a kind, perhaps in the nation. I also serve on the Women in the Profession Committee of the North Carolina Bar Association, and I enjoy that service. I've been there for just over a year now, I think. I serve on the Duke University School of Nursing Board of Advisors, and it's been a pleasure to serve on that board almost since its inception over the last going on 8 years. They tell me that I contribute from a policy perspective and a different perspective since I don't have any kind of medical background and don't know a lot of what they're talking about sometimes. But I do enjoy that service and will continue. The common sense I learned from common sense parents. I was born and raised in Brunswick County to parents who knew the value of hard work and the value of education. For them, it was essential that their children get an education, get a college education. And I'm running out of time. But I appreciate the common sense that they instilled in me. As for the question that was asked about the degree of deference in a personal manner that I might give to an issue from the legislature, well, regardless of my personal philosophy, as a constitutional officer, I've taken an oath, and it's my sworn duty to uphold the law, and that's what I do in every case that comes before me. Generally speaking, statutory interpretation, we look toward legislative intent. We try and see what the purpose of the statute is. We look at the language and purpose of the statute to try and determine that intent. And we, first of all, presume that the legislature did act with purpose, care, and deliberation in the statute. We examine the plain words of the statute. We determine whether or not it's clear and unambiguous. If it is, then we uphold it without any other judicial construction. If it's ambiguous, then we try and determine the purpose and intent of the legislature in enacting that statute. I follow the rule of law. I'll continue to do that procedurally and substantively. I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you very much for this time.
Judge McGee?
Thank you for being here. Having the opportunity to campaign across North Carolina has been a wonderful personal experience for me, and I appreciate your being here on a Friday afternoon. I'm Marty McGee, and I've served as a district court judge in Cabarrus County since 2000. As you know, the Court of Appeals reviews the work of the trial courts to ensure the proper application of our laws. I have more experience as a trial judge than anyone currently serving on the Court of Appeals. This year, over 50,000 cases will be filed in Cabarrus County District Court for our 4 judges. Over the last decade, I've presided over tens of thousands of cases involving criminal, family, juvenile, and civil law matters. I think it's fair to say that I've now heard several lifetimes' worth of stories and legal troubles. This work has well prepared me to meet the challenges of reviewing the decisions of our trial courts. A trial judge's perspective is not the only one important to have on the court, but it's a very important one. It frankly surprised me a little when I realized that I've been a trial judge longer than anyone now serving on the Court of Appeals. If you think a trial judge's perspective is important, I would appreciate your considering me. I regularly teach legal education courses to judges and lawyers. I'm on the District Court Judges Education Committee. I enjoy the academic aspects of my work, but I never forget that each case affects the lives of the persons who appear before me and our community. Before becoming a judge, I represented people in courts ranging from small claims court to the Supreme Court of the United States. I'm proud to be a member of our profession. I believe in judicial restraint. Our courts have an important but limited role in our constitutional democracy. I follow the law regardless of my personal opinions or public pressures. My wife and I have been married for 21 years, and we have 2 daughters and reside in Concord. I would appreciate your support. And to specifically answer the question that I was asked, what degree of deference do you give to the laws enacted by the General Assembly? Of course, the legislature makes the laws, and the judiciary interprets the law. A judge should interpret the law consistent with the legislature's intent, regardless of whether the judge likes the result or whether the result is popular or not. This approach makes our law consistent and predictable. As a trial judge, I follow the law where it leads me. I don't decide how I want to rule and then bend the law to reach that result. Sometimes in court, after hearing the case, I say frankly to the parties in front of me that if I was free to do whatever I want, I may do something different than what I'm about to do. But if the law, I'm required to follow the law like everyone else, and that's what I'm going to do when I enter the decision based on the law and not my personal opinion. There was a trial judge in Cabarrus County named Judge Bob Warren who recently passed away. And when he was in a particularly difficult position, if he had to make a decision that was perhaps unpopular or difficult for him to make, he would say, I may not be the judge tomorrow, but I'm the judge today, and this is what I'm going to do, and he would follow the law. And I try to follow that example. Thank you all. I appreciate your support.